Pam said, we're raising money for our campaign to fight hunger the healthy way. Though not always visible to all of us, hunger is a growing issue in our suburban communities. It's a big issue. To that end, I want to introduce our two speakers. First up is Jim Axelrod, who is the anchor of the Saturday edition of the CBS Evening News and a national correspondent for the CBS News, reporting for the CBS News with Scott Pelley. Jim's done a bunch of stuff for 60 Minutes, for 60 Minutes Sports, for the Golf Channel. You've seen him on air, and he's a heck of a guy, a great friend, and we're really thankful that, Jim, that you came here to do this. Mike Bruno is the executive director of the Human Needs Food Pantry and has been so since March of 2013. You saw a bunch of signs today. If you were teeing off and looking, you'll see a bunch of statistics around the Human Needs Food Pantry. So Mike is here as the executive director. He was previously the chief of police of Tenafly for 25 years. And he's also a former SWAT team commander, so you all need to listen to him. Sure. So I want to introduce Jim and Mike. Thank you very much for being here, and we look forward to hearing you.
Let me just say that I am a victim of great inflation. Everybody's been saying tonight, oh, you're going to be speaking, you're going to be speaking. I'm not going to be speaking. I'm going to be asking questions. The man you really need to listen to is seated to my left. I'm sure for those of you who are playing golf today, as you would get to the tees, you would see one or another of a set of statistics that were stunning. And in fact, things I didn't know about, and I paid pretty careful attention to a lot of this stuff. Things like in Essex County, 150,000 people don't get their nutritional needs met, and a third of those are above the income level where they can't get help from the federal government. I found that to be a stunning thing. Numbers can be, however, a little, sometimes they can work against us in trying to get our arms around the scope of a problem. It can be a touch impenetrable to just try to get all these numbers wedged into your brain. This is not an issue, hunger in our community, that can be best understood simply by trying to process numbers. It's a question of talking to people who are on the front lines of dealing with this. And so we're very lucky tonight to have Mike Bruno with us, who runs the Human Needs Food Pantry. Mike, just by way of introduction, Kevin was just saying that you spent a number of years as the chief of police in Tenafly. Not a transition that is part of everybody's everyday career path when you leave law enforcement. Why did you get into this work?
It was really a simple decision for me. I had always done volunteer work even while I was in law enforcement, and I was getting towards the time where 11 years as police chief, you can imagine the aggravation was up there, and it was getting time to think about doing something different. And the Human Needs Food Pantry had been notified that their executive director was going to be retiring, and they hired an executive search firm. And someone in the executive search firm contacted the media, put it out there, and someone that knew me said that might be a thing that you'd be interested in.
All right, so your job, the Human Needs Food Pantry, first of all, if you could just sort of spell out, give us a baseline. Who are you? What do you do? How many people do you serve? Tell us a little bit about the pantry.
Sure. The pantry was begun in the basement of a Baptist church in Montclair over 30 years ago. And they served a couple of people. They did it as just a charitable thing to be doing, as any faith organization does. And now today we're one of the larger suburban pantries in Essex County. And right now on the rolls I have over 600 registered families. We serve somewhere in the vicinity of 3,000 people a month. And on any given day I have 100 families represented walking through my door to receive food.
Who is eligible to walk through your door to receive food?
People that are eligible come from Essex County. When they come for our regular food program, we run 2 different programs, and they have to fall under a percentage of the federal poverty level based on family size, and that includes all-in income. So if they work, if they get food stamps, if they get benefits, all of that is calculated, and they have to come under a monthly level that most people couldn't survive with. And then we do a state food program that's eligible to anybody in the state of New Jersey, that we give state allocated food to them when they come in. So the need is tremendous.
So I would think 30 years in law enforcement, there's nothing that surprises you. You've seen it all. And in 18 months running the Human Needs Food Pantry, anything surprise you?
Yeah, just everything. I really, if you had given me a polygraph examination, I would have passed telling you I saw everything in 30 years. But now, being in line with the people that I deal with every day, who are just like every one of us in this room, it's astounding that any one of us could be on that line tomorrow based on nothing more than a job downsizing, a medical emergency, a glitch in insurance or something. There's someone in tears in my office virtually every day signing up for food.
Let me make sure I understand this, because that's a very important point, I think, for people to walk away from this kind of event and the chance to listen to you. You say you see people who could be sitting at these tables, at one point may have been sitting at tables like this. What do you mean by that?
Well, you know, one of the things that I had in my mind, as most people do, a lot of the volunteer work I did was in major cities with homeless and things like that. So I thought that was poverty. And I was astounded to see that in a town like Montclair and in an area like this part of Essex County, the numbers are astonishing. And it's people just like you and I. It's people with families and people that had great jobs and people that own homes and people that are trying to, you know, do the right thing by their families. All of a sudden, the bottom falls out and they find themselves in this position. And I think the hardest part for them is to wrap their heads around this is actually happening to them before realizing then what to do about it.
So,
what would any of you do in that position? Now you can't afford to eat this week. Can any of you say you would be prepared to deal with that? I know I wouldn't.
But everybody, I think the thought bubble over so many heads in this room is it would happen to somebody else. Can you give me an example, somebody you've talked to in the last 2-3 months who astonished even you in terms of who was walking in for your services?
Yeah, I'll give you a great one. I had a guy come in to apply for assistance for him and his family, and we're talking about, you know, what got him there. I try not to pry, but I do need to do background with them as to, you know, how they're there. And he said, the ironic part is I used to volunteer for the Human Needs Food Pantry. He said, I spent many years giving out food to people and never dreamt that now I'd be sitting in front of this desk asking you for assistance. And he was a combination of depressed, humiliated, shocked. The shock was all over his face. And, you know, that was an eye-opener for me that could be anybody, absolutely anybody.
So there's not just, I mean, the emotional toll is something that is stunning to you in terms of what they walk in and are dealing with on top of everything else.
Yeah, I mean, obviously in 30 years in law enforcement, I've seen every crisis you could imagine. I've been to horrific crashes and suicides and deaths within families and things like that. But this is something that no one actually believes that it could happen to them. The other thing is there's a little piece of reality when there's a horrific accident or a death in a family that's unexpected. It's still a fact of life that those things happen, and it makes it a little more bearable, if you will, that these things happen to people. But poverty and hunger is not something that anybody in this room really believes could happen to you. You had a nice day of golf, you live in a beautiful community, everybody is doing okay, we're paying our bills, we're raising our kids. You really don't believe that, you know, I could be on that line in 2 months. I'm dealing with the people that are. And it's a heartbreaking thing every day. So we try to lift them up and make it nice for them that we're giving assistance and they're doing what's right for their families.
That was another stunning number to me. I think the rate of growth is twice in the suburbs as it is in the inner city in terms of need. Does that interface with your experience?
Yeah, on average, we're adding 30 new households a month. That's our average. And, you know, when we say we have more than 600 families on our roster, we do things that you wouldn't expect. Like we make 200 deliveries a week to homebound, handicapped, and elderly people who can't get out and get that assistance. And it's all done by volunteers. And it's an amazing number because that's a whole lot of households, 200 households in a community like this. This isn't Manhattan. This is a town. And we're dealing with Montclair, Bloomfield. We deal with about 11 towns that we service on the regular food basis. That's a big, big number of households.
I don't even know that everybody knows where the Human Needs Food Pantry is. Can you tell us where it's located?
Yeah, I can tell you the way it was told to me. It's where the old motor vehicle inspection station used to be, that I didn't know where across the street.
If you don't know that, it's by Egan's.
And when I tell people we're directly adjacent to Egan's parking lot, they all say, "Oh."
Okay, so you get these people coming in. What is it, when someone comes into your door, what do you want them to take away in terms of food? What do you supplement? You give basics, staples? What do you provide?
So we're what they call a supplemental food pantry. We don't do hot meals or anything like that. We give them groceries, and we provide fresh meat or chicken or whatever I manage to either get in allocations or purchase. We provide fresh fruit and vegetables, largely due to the partners in health and the assistance that they provide for us. And then we give them canned goods, canned vegetables, canned fruits, dried cereals, rice, pasta. We try to give them things for their cupboard that will give them proteins and carbohydrates, and we try to keep it as healthy as we can, because there's enough, junk food is cheap food. And what we try to do is we try to give them healthy stuff so that they're not finding that poverty is also impacting their health because of what they're forced to eat.
And I know when people in your business, when they're talking about how to allocate their resources, you can pay the farmer now or you can pay the doctor later. So even though you need to spend more to buy fresh fruit and vegetables, that's the kind of thing that is going to end up saving in the long run, because it's just a healthier thing for people to be eating.
Absolutely, and don't forget these are people that a large percentage of my people don't have medical benefits. So a trip to a doctor is a deal breaker. We do medical screenings at the pantry twice a month, and I can't tell you the value that has to them, because for them to go and get what we give them is going to cost them money that would mean I can't feed my family next week. And so, when you're making decisions about should we eat today or should I buy the kids clothes that they need for starting the school, that's some difficult decisions that no one wants to be put in a position to make.
Mike, tell us quickly, Partners for Health. What kind of difference are they making in the work you do?
Oh, it's going to sound like I'm saying it only because Pam's sitting right in front of me. I have to tell you, obviously when I came into this business, I had no background in this type of work, other than when I volunteered. So I was actually looking for people to kind of tell me what was what. And when I ran into Pam and Kathy Smith and Naima, and I told them some of the stuff that we were doing and in need of, and all I've ever heard from any of them is, "Oh, we can help you with that. Oh, we can help you with that. Well, with fruit and vegetables and fresh produce is getting so expensive. Oh, give me an application, we'll give you a grant." And I was stunned by that. During one conversation with them, I was talking about that we had to turn away a truckload of stuff that was donated to us because I didn't have the freezer space. Give us a request. And they bought us a commercial refrigerator and a commercial freezer that increased my storage capacity tremendously. So to say that the Human Needs Food Pantry and our clients are indebted to the Partners for Health is kind of an understatement. Because without them, I don't buy the fresh produce and the fruit and vegetables that I do, and I don't have a place to store the stuff that I can buy. And that's a fact. So we are definitely indebted, and it's a partnership that I personally, my board, and our clients don't take lightly.
Okay, so you're talking... You're talking about a client base of 600 families a month?
It's 600 families are registered, and they come once a week.
Once a week.
For food.
All right, so let's make sure everybody in this room gets the message underscored in triplicate. What do you need?
Food. And money to buy food. And in addition to what I get from the community food bank in allocations, I get 2 trucks a month. When the first truck comes, the stuff that I get on that truck is usually gone a week and a half later. And when I get the second truck, that's usually gone 2 weeks after that. So I'm purchasing food from produce vendors, from local supermarkets and things like that on a monthly basis. I'm spending a tremendous amount of money in food. And the food, you all know, the cost of beef, the cost of chicken, The cost of vegetables and produce is going through the roof. We all know it, we all complain about it, but we can still buy it. And without the assistance that we get from the partners, I wouldn't be able to. I'd be giving these people the barest minimum. And now, with their assistance, I'm giving them salad greens, and I'm giving them vegetables and fresh fruit, and bananas and apples, and squash and zucchini and things you just can't believe that when they come in the door, they're actually asking me now, what are we getting this week? You know, what are we getting this week? It's such a pleasure to be able to say, it's not the same thing you've gotten every week for the last 5 years. And that's really based in the assistance that we get. We don't function without it.
Mike, how invisible is this problem? Widespread, sure. Crippling, absolutely. What about the visibility?
Oh, I think these people are almost invisible in many cases. Would you broadcast it if you suddenly found yourself in need? Would you be wearing a sign, I'm in poverty, I need help? People mask it. I'll give you a brief story about one lady that came in. She was going to apply for help, and she was panic-stricken because her husband didn't want her to, because it was shameful. And she said we couldn't feed the kids anymore, and he was working, he was trying, but they weren't getting past the poverty level. So I registered her, and we packed her bags in different grocery store bags, and she tells him she food shops. And he maintains his pride. She's given the help she needs to the family that he'll never know about, and they can stay holding their heads up high in his mind because he's providing for his family, even though we are.
There are 50 million Americans, 50 million Americans who live below the poverty line. That's 1 in every 6. So don't fool yourselves. All of those other 5 don't live somewhere else. All right? That's 1 out of 6 Americans is living below the poverty line. So I just want to ask you as a sort of final thought, if there is one takeaway, one message that you want everybody here to walk out of this room with tonight, what is it?
These people are us. They're us. They're sitting at your table. There could be people that are going to find themselves knocking on our door in a couple of months because of some unforeseen thing, like a job downsizing, like a medical crisis, like a loss of insurance. It could be anything. And they're us. Don't fool yourself. This is not a different group of people. This is your neighbors. This is people you know. There are people, one of the things that's really, really important to these people, as much as I try to put the word out, and we've introduced social media, and we have journalism involved now with the Montclair Times and some of the local papers, they're panic-stricken that they're going to wind up in a photograph because they don't want people to know that this is where they're coming for assistance or that they even need it. So that's my message. It's us. It's all of us. It could be any one of us. And that point has been driven home to me very, 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 very candidly in the last year and a half because I had a misconception myself.
And I guess the only time you should be looking down at anyone is when you're trying to help them out.
That's the sign that I put up in our lobby the first day I took over because I had that in my office when I was police chief. We shouldn't be looking down on anybody unless we're reaching to pick them up. Thanks for bringing that up.
And thank you for that.